So just the day before the most recent Nintendo Direct, we actually had the quarterly financial briefing from the Big N themselves, where they discuss things like Nintendo Switch overall performance when it comes to things like hardware sales and software sales, and we also get the official Q&A transcriptions days afterwards. And in today's video, I want to go over some very interesting comments from Nintendo themselves when it comes to things like the Nintendo Switch and where it is at in its life cycle today, and how it continues to do the impossible as it nears its 7th year of sales on the market. And we need to go over and break down exactly what was said and what this means in terms for the continued momentum of the current family of Nintendo Switch consoles, and break down and discuss when it is most likely that we should be able to expect Nintendo commenting or officially revealing what is truly next when it comes to next generation hardware for the Switch, and whether or not that may be taking place anytime soon right now. What's up, Nation? If it's your first time on the channel, make sure you join Sunbro Nation by subscribing below. Hit the like button on this video if you enjoy it today, and make sure you turn on your bell notification icon so you're kept up to date with all the newest gaming news. Now, as I mentioned, guys, today we are discussing all things Nintendo and a breakdown of some of the Q&A section from their most recent quarterly financial briefing, because a lot of interesting questions come up from investors when we talk about things like Nintendo Switch hardware momentum, where it is at today as it closes out its 6th year of being sold and available on the market and starts its 7th year of sales, which is already a very long life cycle for a Nintendo console of any sort, whether it be handheld or home console. And clearly we are in uncharted territories when it comes to the Switch being truly a hybrid console, merging together the handheld form factor and the at-home factor with dockable play. And while I hope Nintendo continues this form factor for the foreseeable future, there is no denying that we should be starting to shift our expectations for them to have a good final year or two of software releases for the Switch, and ultimately start to plan on and focus and discuss the launch lineup for whatever the true successor to the Switch will be. A lot of people do get thrown off by that comment online about the Nintendo Switch potentially having something like a 10-year life cycle, due to the fact that at the 5-year point, there were comments from an investors meeting that Nintendo sees the Switch differently than other consoles, and likely it is only in the halfway point of its life cycle at that 5-year point. However, one thing that people forget is that a console, even after the successor is released, still gets sold for years and years. They will sell through all of their existing inventory, potentially do a price cut, and even have a full couple years of it being sold alongside of the new console at a cheaper price point. We see this with each and every console generation where there is a crossover period. There may not be many people buying PlayStation 4s right now, but it's still happening even a couple years after the Sony PlayStation 5 has been the new flagship console when it comes to Sony's new hardware. And naturally, the same thing should happen with the Switch, and that would be in the scope of a life cycle for a console. So we may only have to wait until year 7 or 8 before Nintendo really does launch what is next, and then at that point we're looking at the existing family of Switch consoles to likely be discounted to a lower price and be viewed as more of that budget-friendly option for people getting into gaming for the first time. Or maybe you have a smaller child that you don't want to spend a lot of money on. We could be talking about things like the Switch Lite going for $100 to $150, the Switch base model potentially at $200 or $250, and an OLED at $300 whenever the new flagship console is being sold at $400. So there is still a long roadway ahead when it comes to Switch sales, and by all accounts it has done the unthinkable and truly what I believe the impossible, just due to the sheer gold form factor that Nintendo leaned into with this hybrid concept, and it is paying off dividends for them. And you can really see that they've been working towards this all along the way, always having kind of the handheld, having the option to talk to the home console, but the technology was clearly not there until the Switch. Some would argue the technology is still not there, but when I play games like Metroid Prime Remastered, it does remind me that this hardware is very still capable and impressive, even though it's running off of a Tegra X1 that was originally developed in 2015, when the right type of tactics are pulled off. But that's neither here nor there. To kick off this conversation, we do have to quickly hop over to Nintendo Everything and read through their detailed typed up article together, where we have some exact comments from Mr. Furukawa on how he is viewing the Switch's life cycle today and what it could ultimately mean in terms of future hardware plans. As you can see, the following article headline where it says Nintendo on Switch's life cycle as system enters 7th year. During Nintendo's latest financial results briefing, President Shintaro Furukawa was asked to comment on the Switch's life cycle. With the console celebrating its 6th anniversary next month and entering its 7th year, Furukawa stated the challenge will be finding ways to encourage users who are considering new purchases, replacement purchases, and additional purchases to pick up a Nintendo Switch. Furukawa pointed to the importance of new games and evergreen titles, maintaining engagement with the system, and increasing contact with Nintendo through the Super Mario Bros. Movie and Super Nintendo World. Also reiterated that there is no need to change its pricing strategies for hardware or software at this time. Furukawa stated, Nintendo Switch will soon enter its 7th year and has sold over 120 million units cumulatively. And we believe that it is entering uncharted territory in Nintendo's dedicated video game platform business. In this environment, it will not be easy to maintain hardware sales at the same pace as before. For this reason, our new challenge for the 7th year is finding ways to encourage users who are considering new purchases, replacement purchases, and additional purchases to pick up a Nintendo Switch. We believe that both new titles and evergreen titles can create opportunities for new users to purchase hardware. Furthermore, maintaining engagement with the hardware can lead to the introduction of new software. In December of last year, we saw the highest ever level of Nintendo Switch engagement, and many consumers continue to play Nintendo Switch. Given the situation, it is important going forward to communicate the appeal of Nintendo Switch through software offerings to consumers considering new purchases, replacement purchases, and additional purchases of the hardware. Super Nintendo World will have its grand opening at Universal Studios Hollywood this February, and the new Super Mario Bros. Movie will premiere in April. By creating opportunities for consumers to encounter Nintendo topics in areas outside of the dedicated video game platform, we aim to maintain the overall momentum of our business. As we continue the Nintendo Switch business over the long term, we have tried to preserve the value and prices of both hardware and software as much as possible. We do not believe that that policy needs to be changed at this point. So what I take away from that entire statement when I read through it is that Nintendo is well aware that this thing has been sold and available for nearly 7 years now, as it will be starting its 7th year around the corner, and they are aware that they are now more targeting some of the double dip audience, some of the people who might need a replacement Nintendo Switch for ones that have broken, or additional Switches for the household of gamers that you may have out there. And they really have to be very strategic with their offerings to try to attract new audiences through things like their budget on Super Nintendo World and this Mario movie, to capitalize maybe the more casual, non-core gamer audience that maybe has mobile cell phone games, and that's about as far as they go, to entice them to pick up a Switch for the first time. But they are well aware of the fact that many people that have wanted a Switch up until this point today already have one, and hence it will be a very big challenge to maintain the same type of sales momentum that we've seen them do year in and year out at this point in the Switch's life cycle. And that is all good news in my opinion, because it sounds like while they don't feel like they need to cut the price or change anything drastically with the current lineup of family of systems today, that they are aware that the user base is essentially at a point of market saturation, or at least close to that. And I don't think we have to wait too much longer before we really do start to see them pull back the curtain and reveal to us what is next. Does that mean that we have no more major software to look forward to on the Switch and it's all doom and gloom for a year plus until we get the new hardware? No, it does not. I think Nintendo will continue to support it with a very strong library of games, and I still think that even though amongst the reports and talk online that 2023 may be a lighter year for Nintendo in software, I think following the last Direct, we are seeing more and more momentum this year in terms of it being a great gaming year for the Switch than ever before, and I think that that doesn't let up. Let's hope that we get some kind of summer mainline Direct presentation to outline more of this year, and then again one in September. But regardless of what Nintendo does, they are in a very strong point in the market right now, and you can kind of start to see the tone shift towards we are aware of how far in we are with the Switch today. We are overcoming hurdles to continue to get it to sell the monstrous numbers that we've seen it do up to this point in time, and that really starts to come into play when we talk about 2024, and that is, if I am a betting man, the year that we will see Nintendo actually reveal to us the true successor to the Switch. Will it be the Switch 2? Will it be new Nintendo Switch? Will it be something entirely different? Will they ditch hybrid form factor? I think that would be a misstep, but it's definitely a possibility with Nintendo. Regardless of what they have planned, I do strongly believe that that is the timeline that we should start to see them pull back the curtain for the true next generation hardware, start to work on the mainline titles that will launch it. Let's hope it's backwards compatible. Let's hope we see a period of time where games are being released for both the current family of systems and for what is next alongside each other, kind of like you see with PS4 versions of games alongside of PS5 versions of games, and you just expect to have the better performance, the higher resolution, and overall a better gameplay experience on the newer hardware. But that way, if you're somebody who can't be an early adopter or can't buy the new system day one, you still have access to play some of the major games that are coming out. Although I can see Nintendo doing a hard generational break where maybe it is backwards compatible, but a lot of the games just start to come out only on the new generation because they want to sell that thing out of the gate and ultimately attempt to repeat the success and even take it to newer heights than what the Switch has achieved. And we will kind of have to keep an eye on the total unit sales as time goes on and discuss whether or not Nintendo Switch will go down as the best-selling home console of all time, period, or if it will make it right up to that level, but ultimately fall short from taking the crown. But I really want to hear from you guys at this point in the video, your personal thoughts of where the Switch is at today in light of the most recent direct presentation and these comments from Furukawa. Do you think that we are nearing the end of the current lineup of Switch games and Nintendo will start to shift to what's next? Do you think that these comments are an indication that Nintendo is well aware that the Switch is nearing the end of its life cycle, and it kind of sounds like they are starting to be more creative on how they market the Switch because they know it's a lot of double dip consumers or multi-console household consumers? And what do you think the smartest way to get new eyeballs on the Switch and a broader customer base for the console? Or do you think it's just clearly time and Nintendo shouldn't wait too much longer to reveal to us what is next, because that's how they will really capitalize on the momentum of the Switch? And bonus question, how are you feeling about the 2023 Switch software lineup so far? Do you think we get major new game reveals throughout the rest of this year that will still be coming out for the current Switch, or do you think it will indeed be a lighter software lineup overall compared to years past? So regardless of your thoughts and feelings on everything we talked about today, I do look forward to hearing from you all in the comments down below before you leave the video, as I do look forward to getting a back and forth conversation started with you all around this topic. Go watch yesterday's video next if you haven't already, which is on screen right now. Also make sure you like, subscribe, turn on your notification bell, and I will see you guys in the next video.